The soft music continued to play gently across the lavish banquet hall, where warm golden lights bathed rows of white cloth tables, and sprigs of lavender lent a soft purple hue to the scene. Glasses clinked, people smiled, and their eyes gleamed with joy. Everyone believed tonight marked the beginning of a blissful marriage, and I, Savannah, was the lucky bride. I used to believe that too. I stepped off the dance floor for just a brief moment, my wedding dress gliding over the polished wood like a wisp of smoke. I needed to breathe, to find a sliver of stillness amid the toasts, the laughter, and the constant flashing of cameras. I slipped behind the draped panels where tall white flower arrangements concealed the walkway, adjusting the veil that had started to slide from my hair. And then I heard it. "You could do better, Tyler. She's just too naive." It was Mason's voice. Tyler's half-brother, the same Tyler who had just become my husband exactly 2 hours earlier. I froze. The bouquet in my hand suddenly felt heavy. "Naive is good," Tyler replied, his tone low and disturbingly calm. "At least, she's not going anywhere." I thought I misheard, but no. Each word, each sentence was crystal clear and chilling. Tyler let out a soft laugh, entirely free of awkwardness or hesitation. It was the smug laugh of someone confident they held all the power. Mason chuckled. "Exactly, you've got her locked in. Now just keep the perfect act going." I took a step back, my heartbeat pounding so loud it nearly drowned out the music. The cold air rushed into my lungs like a razor. They were talking about me. The woman who'd just made vows, who kissed the man at the altar, who believed she was living the most sacred moment of her life. Neither of those men knew I was standing nearby, silently listening to them shred my image with their words. I should have confronted them, should have stormed into the hall and exposed them in front of hundreds of guests, but I did nothing. I stood still, frozen, my lips trembling but silent. I had loved Tyler, trusted him, given him every vulnerable piece of myself without a shred of doubt. And Mason, he'd never liked me. But I never imagined he'd be the ringleader in this play, with me as the puppet. I bit my lip, holding back the tears pressing against my eyes. A thought suddenly crossed my mind, cold and sharp like broken glass. They think I won't go anywhere. They believe I'm easy to manipulate, easy to keep, easy to deceive. I almost laughed. They really had no idea who I was. I turned quietly and walked back into the hall with a flawless composure. A smile bloomed on my face just as a friend approached to congratulate me. No one noticed a thing. They all still believed I was happy, that tonight was the dream night of every woman. Tyler stood across the room laughing with friends, the light catching on his wedding band. Mason was next to him, looking as self-assured as ever. I walked toward them with squared shoulders and a lifted chin, every step steady, as if I hadn't heard a word. Tyler saw me first. His eyes lit up and he smiled just like always. "There you are," he said, reaching for my hand. "My beautiful wife." I let him take my hand. The warmth I used to feel in his touch was gone. Now it was just proof of betrayal. And tonight I would play the gentle wife. Exactly as they expected. But tomorrow would be different. I don't remember how many people I smiled at that night. I only remember that every handshake, every blessing, every gaze seeing me as a lucky bride became another mask I had to hold tight. Behind the smear-proof mascara were the most alert eyes I'd ever had. I was no longer the girl who believed in fairy tales or golden-lit vows. I was Savannah. And I had awakened on my wedding day. Tyler held my hand tightly as we cut the cake. He leaned in to kiss my cheek, and the applause echoed throughout the ballroom. I smiled, nodded, even looked at him with soft affection like a love-struck wife. In that moment, no one, not even Tyler, knew I was acting. And I acted too well. I didn't cry, didn't confront, didn't cause a scene, because I knew that's what they wanted. They thought I was weak, that I would fall apart, but instead, I chose silence. A calculated silence. I would let them believe they had won. After the ceremony, as we left the venue, Tyler opened the car door for me with a warm smile. "You were glowing tonight," he said. I looked at him, unblinking, with just the right smile. "Because I know I married the perfect man," he laughed, brushing my cheek gently. I tilted my head, pretending to lean into his affection. The hotel where we spent our wedding night was on the top floor of a historic building overlooking the city. Once inside, Tyler poured 2 glasses of champagne. He raised his glass to us and clinked it lightly against mine. I picked up the glass but didn't drink. I sat on the bed and slipped off my heels, my mind already racing. If Tyler and Mason thought I was too naive to realize they were toying with my heart, I'd let them live in that illusion a little longer. I had lived long enough to know the most powerful revenge is silent, meticulous, and precise. That night, while Tyler was in the shower, I opened my laptop. My inbox had a few emails from former colleagues at the media firm I'd left to plan the wedding. Among them was a confidential collaboration offer I once declined, for Tyler. Now there was nothing left to prioritize. I hit reply, fingers flying across the keyboard. Ready to return. This time, I have a much better story to tell. Tyler emerged, steam still rising from his hair, towel draped around his waist. He sat beside me and placed a hand on my shoulder. Savannah, are you okay? You seem a little tired. I turned to him, eyes soft as morning mist. It's just been an emotional day. I'm happy. Tyler smiled, thinking everything was still in his control, and I let him think that. The next morning, I woke up before Tyler. I stood by the window, watching the sunrise streak across the distant buildings, already running through the list in my head. I needed to reach out to Mason's old contacts. I needed to learn where their business was vulnerable and who they feared the most. I needed time, but not much. Once the first gear was in motion, the whole machine would run itself. When Tyler woke up, he reached for me under the covers and looked up. You're up early? I turned, walked back to the bed and gently ran my fingers through his hair. I just wanted to watch the first sunrise of our marriage. He smiled and pulled me close. And me? I was already thinking about the emails I'd send today, the meetings I'd set up, and the secrets I'd start uncovering. Tyler might think I belonged to him. But from the moment I heard what he said to Mason, I belonged to a new version of myself. Stronger, colder, and ready to expose the truth. One step at a time. 3 days after the wedding, Tyler was back at the office and I officially entered the first stage of my plan, observe and remember. I woke up early every morning, made him coffee, kissed his cheek as he walked out the door and smiled sweetly like everything was still picture perfect, just like our wedding card. But the moment the door clicked shut, I switched roles. No longer the loving wife, now the woman preparing to flip the script. I started with the laptop Tyler often left open before bed. He assumed I wasn't interested in his work, and that assumption was my greatest advantage. One morning while he was in the shower, I opened his email using a password I guessed on my second try. His mom's pet's name, plus Mason's birthday. Most of the inbox was filled with work messages, investment reports, partnership invitations, until I saw a thread titled, "Thanks for last Friday." The sender was someone I'd never heard of, Delilah S. The first line made my blood run cold. I still smelled your cologne all weekend. Savannah didn't notice, did she? I took a screenshot and sent it to a secondary email account not linked to anything personal. Then I logged out, leaving no trace. But I didn't stop there. Tyler often left his phone on the breakfast table while he made his detox drinks. One time, when a notification popped up saying, "Message from Mason, got an update," I quietly picked it up and scrolled through the thread. They were texting like 2 men running a show. You sure she doesn't suspect anything? Totally. Savannah's a sweetheart, just stay in character. Delilah's asking when you're filing for divorce, but you just got married. Bit of a clash there. Let her believe what she wants. Let's keep the money flow stable first. I swallowed the surge of anger rising in my chest, not because the words were cruel, but because they spoke about me like I was a tool, a cover, a pawn. I sent the messages to my phone via AirDrop, erased all traces and placed the phone back exactly where it was. That evening, when Tyler took me out on the balcony for dinner, he talked about expanding the investment branch in Miami. I want both our names on it. Sounds more like a power couple, he smiled, eyes warm like honey. I trust you, I replied, raising my wineglass like I was toasting to our future. But in truth, I was already calculating how to access that joint financial system he'd just mentioned. The next day while he was out, I used his tablet to log into our shared account. Tyler had saved all the credentials without realizing it. Just a few taps and I had access to every transaction, every investment, including a hidden account he'd failed to mention during our prenup meeting. I created a separate account under a different name and began transferring small sums. Enough for a safety net, but not enough to raise suspicion. Then one night while Tyler and Mason were at a basketball game, I sat down to review old videos from a hard drive Mason once gave me, supposedly clips from our early travels. I was about to delete them when the fourth file popped up, a birthday party at a bar. In the dim footage, I saw Mason, clearly drunk, laughing with friends. His voice was crystal clear. "Tyler, faithful, please." He brought models back to the apartment while Savannah was visiting her mom, and she never had a clue. One look at her and you know she's the trusting type. I paused the video. The screen's glow reflected off my face. Not one of pain, but calm. I saved the file, encrypted it, and moved it to a locked folder only I could access. Mason and Tyler had been careless. They didn't know the woman they called naive didn't exist anymore. That night I sat alone in the small upstairs office, the desk lamp casting light over folders, emails, and my open laptop screen. No soft music from Tyler downstairs, no Mason on speakerphone like usual. They were busy, unaware a silent wave was starting to rise, ready to pull everything they thought was untouchable into the tide. I sipped my tea and typed steadily. Inside a folder labeled private_access, I reopened the drunk video of Mason boasting about Tyler's affair. I trimmed a clean 30-second clip, encrypted it, and drafted an anonymous email from a brand new account. The first recipient, Patrick Graham, a veteran finance journalist who once interviewed Tyler after he launched his firm. The second, Camille Yates, my former colleague, now a legal assistant at an audit firm. I attached the clip with a brief note. "Perhaps you should watch this before entering any further partnership." I hit send. Not just one, 12 emails, sent to the exact people whose voices mattered, those who had influence or proximity close enough to rattle Tyler and Mason. One of them was Ellen, the director of the fund Tyler once bragged about winning over in a single lunch. I attached a few blurred photos Delilah had sent Tyler, just enough to spark suspicion, not enough to trigger legal threats. I didn't want it to end quickly. I wanted them to panic, and when people panic, they self-destruct. The next morning, as I was finishing breakfast, Tyler's phone rang. He stepped into his office to take the call. At first, his voice was calm, then it tightened. "What? Who sent it? No, that's old stuff. Just let me explain." I sipped my coffee, listening to every note of his reaction through the slightly open door. An hour later, Mason called. I could hear him practically yelling through the phone. "Tyler, who's messing with us? That video, you deleted it. Who has it? Who?" Tyler didn't answer. His face was pale, hand gripping his hair. He hung up without saying a word to me. But I saw it. The arrogance in his eyes was gone. Only fear and doubt remained. By noon, the rumors had started to spread. Camille messaged me from a secondary number, just one sentence. "You really want to take this all the way?" I didn't reply. I just liked Patrick Graham's latest post, a cryptic article questioning the ethics of leaders using trust to manipulate investments. That evening, Tyler came home early, something he never did. He asked, "Have you heard anything about me?" I tilted my head, gently placing my hand on his arm. "What do you mean?" "It's just some ridiculous rumors going around about me and Mason." "Oh?" I smiled softly, eyes as gentle as always. "Must be a misunderstanding. Who would make up stories about someone like you?" He looked at me for a second but said nothing. For the first time since our wedding, he avoided my gaze. That night, while Tyler slept, I picked up his phone and opened the cloud backup app. Every photo, message, call, all backed up. I downloaded more screenshots of his chats with Delilah, then wiped the traces clean. The game had begun, and I was already 3 steps ahead. Tomorrow, I'd send a new email, this time to Tyler's company's internal audit team, just a slight nudge about potential misuse of investment funds. I knew they'd widen the investigation. I wouldn't need to lift much more of a finger. Just hit the right weak spot, at the right time. And I knew, in the days ahead, I wouldn't be the one explaining. It would be Tyler. And Mason. They were used to the illusion that I'd stay silent forever. But this time, they picked the wrong woman. That morning I sat at my favorite cafe in the heart of the old district, laptop open in front of me, a freshly printed file by my side. The air was filled with keystrokes, the clinking of spoons and business chatter. Everything ordinary, except for the information waiting to be sent from my inbox. This file was the result of 3 weeks tracking Mason's shady personal investments, including suspicious transactions linked to a string of projects in Austin, where Tyler's firm had recently committed funds. All of it compiled, complete with evidence pulled from emails and internal documents Mason once mistakenly shared to Tyler's joint account. With just one click, everything slipped out of their control. I sent the documents to the investigation unit of the Securities Commission. Another copy went to a top financial news outlet, where Patrick Graham had just published his first cryptic piece. I added a short message. If further verification is needed, I'm available to assist. Less than an hour later, the first headline hit the Hot Topics section. Westward Group investment firm faces allegations of money laundering through real estate projects. I sat still, sipping my cappuccino, watching Mason's name appear in the press for the first time, and not in the influential leaders section. By afternoon, the news spread like wildfire in a dry season. Tyler came home earlier than usual, his face pale, phone ringing non-stop. He paced the living room, whispering into the phone like someone lost. "Do you know anything about this?" he asked, his voice hoarse after 3 back-to-back calls. I stood by the kitchen doorway, calmly wiping my hands on a cloth. "About what?" "Mason, the company, someone sent internal files, questionable transactions. Everyone thinks I'm involved." I paused, looked him straight in the eyes. "Are you worried because you're innocent, or because there are things you truly can't explain?" Tyler froze. For the first time, he had no answer. That night, while he went upstairs, I quietly checked my phone. Liam, the man who always stayed above it all, confident every move was in the shadows, finally spoke up. His message lit up the screen. "Savannah, we need to talk. What are you doing?" I didn't reply. The next day, the media leveled up. Patrick's newest article was shared over 8,000 times in under 24 hours, with a bold headline. "The Dark Side of a Financial Empire, New Bride or Whistleblower." Soon after, Tyler found me in the kitchen, his face no longer hiding the panic. "Savannah," he said, voice low. "It was you, wasn't it?" I set my coffee down and looked him in the eye. "And what if I said yes?" He swallowed hard. I stepped closer. No yelling, no rage. Just the quiet release of everything I'd held back. "Because you thought I'd never dare. Because you treated me like decoration for the perfect life you designed. Because you and Mason turned my trust into a joke. And most of all, because you never believed I was smart enough to find the truth." Tyler took a step back, panic flashing across his face. "You're destroying everything." I smiled. "No, Tyler. I'm just removing the mask." Then the phone rang. This time it was Mason. He didn't know I was standing beside Tyler, so he shouted into the phone. "She knows everything. Savannah sent it all. Someone needs to do something." I took the phone from Tyler's hand and placed it on the table, letting the call continue so Mason's voice echoed loud and clear. Then I turned to Tyler, tilted my head slightly. "Now you know how it feels. To be watched, to be played." Tyler said nothing. He just stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman standing in front of him. And he didn't. The Savannah he thought was obedient, naive, was gone. Liam unraveled faster than I expected. After losing a major investor, Mason sent a desperate email to the entire board, blaming internal security failures, but everyone knew this wasn't a mistake. It was a precise, calculated strike. The final message was sent at 2:17 a.m., the moment I knew Tyler and Mason couldn't recover. I attached everything: an audio clip of Mason bragging about misusing investment funds, a chain of emails from Tyler to Delilah promising off-the-books transfers, and a spreadsheet of suspicious internal transactions. Each file, each line backed by data pulled from the accounting system Tyler never thought I could access. This time, I didn't use an anonymous email. The sender was Savannah Bennett. I wanted them to know exactly who brought down the empire they thought was untouchable. 3 hours later, Financial Tribune exploded with the headline, "New evidence confirms money laundering allegations at Westward Group. Insider exposes entire system." The article included a blurred image from the original email, with my full name clearly visible. That alone was enough to trigger a domino effect. Mason's social media accounts were suspended. Tyler's office was raided by internal auditors. Business partners pulled funding. The largest investor released a statement ending the partnership overnight. Less than 48 hours after the documents were made public, Mason vanished from all platforms. Tyler went completely silent. Neither had been seen at the office or any events since. The next morning I woke up in a rented beachfront apartment I had quietly moved into after leaving Tyler's house. Sunlight poured through the window, waves crashed against the shore, like a soundtrack to the final act of a drama that had run far too long. I poured my coffee and checked my phone. One new email. From Tyler Caldwell. Subject: I know you won't respond, but I need to say this. I read every word slowly. Savannah? I don't know how you did it, but now I understand. Everything fell apart so fast I couldn't react. But the thing I mourn the most isn't the company or the reputation. It's you. I was wrong. I was arrogant, blind, and worst of all, I hurt the one person who truly loved me. I love you, not in the selfish way I used to, but in the way that makes me regret every chance I lost to be someone worthy of you. Even if you never forgive me, I need you to know that. Tyler? I set the phone down, my eyes focused on nothing in particular. No anger, no regret, just a strange calm, like every emotion had been rinsed clean after the storm. I reopened the email, scrolled to the bottom, and hit delete. Not a single tear fell. I knew forgiveness wasn't what I was after. What I needed was justice, and I had claimed it, not with words, not with tears, but with intelligence, patience, and belief in myself. That afternoon I went to the post office to file paperwork to change my last name. Savannah Caldwell had never been an identity I chose. And now, I owed nothing to anyone. When I left the city, I carried only a small suitcase and a folder containing drafts for the book I'd long dreamed of writing, Behind the Wedding Dress. I would rewrite everything, not as a victim, but as someone who had weathered the storm and survived, stronger and freer than ever. The bus departed at 5:30 p.m. I chose a seat by the window, watching through the dust-speckled glass as the city slowly faded behind me. No one knew where I was going. No one needed to. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't living for anyone else. I was living for me. Savannah's story isn't just about exposing deception. It's a symbol of the power that lies within a woman who chooses to reclaim her worth. From being dismissed and manipulated, she flipped the narrative with intelligence, patience, and self-trust. This wasn't revenge. It was liberation. In real life, her story reminds us, when you face the truth and choose yourself, no one can control your destiny again. What do you think about Savannah's journey? Was she too cold? Or did she earn every part of her victory? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to follow the channel for more gripping and emotional family stories.